he does it. Well done, Manchester United.
Beckham. It's a Sheringham. And Solskjaer has done it. Van der Sar saved it. United again. Renee! A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie.
Welcome to the United Hour podcast, the official podcast of redcafe.net. I'm your host, Craig.
I'm Ed.
And I'm Ashwin.
Okay, before we begin and start talking about football, I should mention that we do have a Patreon now. It's www.patreon.com/UnitedHour. And big thank you to the person who has already pledged their support every month. I don't know who you are, but thank you very much. So please go donate. It'll go to server costs and nights out for the boys.
Yeah.
So, okay. Right, we'll move on to football, obviously. And yesterday we played against Young Boys, which makes for a lot of good jokes because it's the most ridiculous team name ever. We won 3-0 thanks to 2 goals from Pogba and a shocking goal from Martial.
Shocking.
Yeah, well, I mean, he hasn't scored in a while. It's been months.
He hasn't scored since
so
January.
See him
right?
on the score sheet. January 20th, a few days before Sanchez joined.
Right.
So it's, obviously Sanchez has been the reason he hasn't scored.
That you could probably start a pretty successful thread in the calf like that.
Yeah. Is Sanchez to blame for Martial not scoring? He'll probably go down like a house on fire. Okay. So, first of all, I think we'll talk about the lineup, because one of the rumours before the game, well, a few days before the game even, was that Dalot would actually start as right back and Shaw would start as left back. Were either of you surprised to see actual fullbacks in our side at the same time instead of 2 converted wingers?
I mean, it made sense, didn't it? Having a proper fullback in the fullback position. So, I mean, I wasn't particularly surprised that. Well, actually, no, I was. I was expecting Darmian to start when Mourinho was saying that we're not taking Valencia because of the artificial pitch. I just assumed, brilliant, Darmian will be playing, and that's that.
Darmian and his incredible sideburns.
God, yeah.
Yeah, I think I predicted the starting lineup correctly, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I wasn't that surprised that he picked Dalot. I don't know. He was just. I don't think he would have talked about him as much as he did even before the match if he. As soon as he played 90 minutes in the U23s, and so once he did that. And then Mourinho wouldn't shut up about him. I just figured, that combination probably made it likely that he would get a start against Young Boys. So I don't know. I wasn't too surprised, and I'm pretty happy. Even though I don't think he was perfect, but for 19-year-old debut Champions League, I think you saw what he could be, what he could become. Once he realizes his potential. So, I don't know. I don't really care. Like, on debuts for a player that young, I hate kind of focusing on what they didn't do or what they need to work on, because I think at that age, especially on a debut, you should be looking more at, what flashes do they show you that, like, when they become hopefully a fully formed player will be a more consistent thing.
I think that's fair. I to be honest, I'd be prepared to play him in the Premier League. Maybe not this weekend, but against a lesser team, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
He put in some really good crosses to Lukaku, and you can tell that Lukaku fed off it as well, in comparison to Valencia, who I've mentioned in the past. Probably got a bit of stick for it, but he didn't take the extra touch, and it makes the world of difference. I know it was only Young Boys, and I imagine a lot of teams in the Premier League could probably beat them as well. But having a player who puts the cross in first time of asking it makes the world of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because when they take the extra touch, obviously it gives the defender a chance to readjust and actually get the tackle in. And this is one of the things that Valencia and Young are both quite guilty of. Even Martial on the wing, he's very guilty of taking too many touches before he crosses, as evidenced in the game actually, uh, where he, in the first half in particular, I thought he played quite poorly because he was taking too much time on the ball, and every time he tried to run past a player, it seemed like he wasn't really giving it everything he's got. Like, whereas last season there were times when he'd run past about 5 different players, like with his eyes closed and a newspaper in one hand.
Yeah.
But yesterday, like seeing him in the first half, I was thinking, could he even run past an old woman with a Zimmer frame right now? Because it just seemed like he wasn't really making a proper effort.
I think you're being a bit harsh there. I thought Martial had a decent game all the way through, to be honest.
Sorry, just to go back to Dalot real quick. One thing that I really liked just watching him when we were in possession, and it's something that has bothered me for so long watching us in the back, play out of the back. But, so, when I feel like every defender we have, they always make the pass that's, one pass away. They never, like, if Young gets the ball on the wing, he never plays it over to the opposite side, center back, even when that pass is on. And I saw Dalot do that. He played Lindelof instead of playing it to Smalling, who would then play to Lindelof. He did that a couple of times, and I think just small things like that, speeding up the transition from side to side, it just shows like he is confident on the ball. I don't know, he didn't seem overawed, which I guess they're playing young boys, so it's not maybe the most nerve-wracking experience, but you are making your debut for Manchester United. It is the Champions League. I think there's still something to be said about just having the confidence to just play. One of his first touches on the ball, he took his man on and got by him and then put in a cross. And I think, I don't remember if it went out for a corner or what happened exactly, but, he like that, for that to be such a positive start to the match. And I think maybe you can tell he's not fully fit because there was much less of that as the match went on, especially after the first 30 minutes. But just to see a couple of those positive attributes in possession I think it'll pay dividends down the road if we, if he does really push Valencia for that starting bid this year.
I actually think he probably would have been pushing in for him for that starting place if he didn't have the injury. I think Mourinho seems to rate him that highly that perhaps that's all that's kept him out.
Yeah. He hasn't shut up about him. Even in when he was talking about injuries in the preseason, he kept bringing up Dalot. So you can tell that. Yeah, I don't know if he would have won it by now, but I definitely think we would have seen him featured by now, before now. I think so. And yeah, you can just tell he definitely rates him very highly. He doesn't. What did he say? He said he's the best young fullback in Europe when we signed him, right? And this is Jose Mourinho, who's not exactly prone to handing out praise left and right.
No. And Darmian started the first 1 or 2 games of the season in the Premier League.
Let's not talk about that.
Well, what I'm saying is presumably if Dalot was fit, he may well have played those games because Valencia wasn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that over the course of the season, maybe even by Christmas, that Dalot will have cemented a spot in the first team? Or do you think that Jose will try and switch it around for at least the next season?
I think next season. I think he needs to. He looked like he got overstrength a bit against young boys a few times to me, and I think he might struggle in the Premier League initially, sort of like David De Gea did when he first arrived at the club. But I've no doubt that he will, possibly by the end of the season, be at the very least very hard to ignore.
Yeah, I can't see him. It's really hard for me to imagine Jose trusting him, away to City, away at Chelsea, away at Liverpool.
Yeah.
I just can't. It would. I mean, if he did, it would probably require him to play even well above our highest expectations of him. So if that happens, that's amazing. But I realistically think the way I see Jose using him is, League Cup, these lower, quote unquote, lower level Champions League ties, some early FA Cup matches, and then when we play some lower level Premier League teams at home, I think those are the matches where I see him. He'll get his chances, and if he does excel in those, that's up to him. If he does excel in those matches, then he gives Mourinho a decision to make, and then if he doesn't play him, we can all bitch about how Mourinho hates young players.
I mean, a lot of people still do that anyway, even when he does play young players.
I mean, you don't drop a player. Well, I suppose you do if you sign Sanchez, but you don't drop a player in form, really, do you?
No.
I wasn't surprised. Back to the original question, sort of thing. I wasn't surprised that Shaw played as soon as he was able to, because he's been in incredible for the form of his career so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think he's definitely playing above expectations. I mean, I was watching him in the under-23s team last year when he was coming back from injury, and I just couldn't see him getting into the United squad at all with how he was playing. So to see him actually push through and take Jose's criticism in his stride and actually make something of himself and then play as well as he's doing, it surprises me and pleases me at the same time, because he's still a very young player.
Yep.
I think he's 24 maybe,
23.
or 20, even 23.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah, like for some reason, like in my head, he's been about 27 or 28. Like it just seems like he's been with us for such a long time already that he can't possibly be as young as he is. So he's definitely one who, if he continues the way he is and can remain injury free, can excel at our club for a long time.
Yeah.
His first touch is it's among the best in the entire squad. I think he is extremely. He might not even do. I mean, he's improved his crossing a lot. It seems like this year he got close to having another assist yesterday. He put in a great delivery for Mata, and then he actually almost had one connected with Rashford too, who hit the post. So he's finding runners in the box now instead of kind of just aimlessly crossing, which used to be really annoying. But even when he's not getting forward, he's still adding to possession because he's playing. He plays balls through the line. You can see that he looks for that, and that makes. Whereas Young, and I don't blame Young. I think a lot of it is just him being right-footed on the left and not being a natural fullback. It's just hard for him. So I don't know. It's really, I don't know. I have a hard time criticizing Young more than Valencia for some reason. I can't really identify why. But in any case, I just think you can see how much he adds to our build-up play and just the fluidity we have when we're in possession when we play with him. Versus I feel like with Young, it's a bit more stilted how we play. And it's, once he gets the ball in the wing, Young isn't going to burn past his man or make some dynamic overlapping run. He's going to, even if he makes an overlapping run, you almost know exactly what he's going to do, right? He's going to get the ball, he's going to chop it back on his right, and he's going to hope that Fellaini is at the far post. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think one of the biggest differences in Shaw's form is that you can see he's playing with confidence. Previously, when we thought when he's been start, is this the turning the corner, and he just didn't have the confidence before. But this season, he looks to be playing with real confidence.
Yeah, he does, and his defending is so good. In none of his I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. When he was in 1v1 situations yesterday, I never felt that he was. He always felt like he was in control of the situation.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, definitely one for the future.
Yeah. Or the present.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Now, obviously, with both fullbacks being on the pitch at the same time, and how we are playing lately, ever since Tottenham, I believe, we started being a more of an attacking team, and obviously part of it will be because of Shaw as well. And how much influence do you think Carrick and McKenna actually have over our style of play right now, and over both fullbacks starting yesterday?
I'm not too sure. I think perhaps Mourinho's sort of come up with a way he wants the team to play, and we're starting. The players know how Mourinho wants them to play now, I think, and that's where the performance is coming from. So everyone knows their roles, like Fellaini and Shaw, the fullbacks know to get forwards. The players who are in the wide positions know to track back. Obviously that should be a given, but it seems as though even Martial is pitching in yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. So I do think, sort of knowing how we're playing each week, it seems as though we're less chopping and changing as we were, say, last season or the season before, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I don't know. I think that there's definitely been a difference in, like, we're getting way more numbers into the box. That, at least for sure, I can see as a tangible difference in how we play. Um, I I don't think we're ever going to be we're just not going to be a high possession side. You can see that even yesterday against Young Boys. There was, when De Gea got the ball, there was not, if they started pressing, we didn't try to be, there was no, like, he wasn't trying to be a hero and play
No.
through the lines or anything. It was just immediately everyone get up the field and we go long. And so I think that that'll always be a Mourinho kind of, that'll always be the way he errs. But I do feel that there's been an emphasis on playing faster, increasing the tempo of the play, and being a little bit more progressive, which I think is also evidenced by him kind of, like, Shaw saying that one of Mourinho's messages to him was about how he wanted him to get forward more, and that was why he was disappointed in his performances last year. That's why I think that he is so high on Dalot, because Dalot is more,
Yeah.
he's more naturally inclined to getting forward from the fullback position. Um, Even with Fellaini, people, we'll talk about him more later, but you know, people complain about him keeping it simple, but the good thing about his simplicity is when he gets the ball, he's 1, 2 touches and it's gone. He's not, like, there are times where, Pogba, who's obviously infinitely more talented than Fellaini, but he slows down the tempo of our play more frequently than Fellaini. Matic does too. Like, they like to get the ball, look up, survey the field, you know, like, take another touch. They take more touches, right, to make decisions. So I think just having more players, especially from the back, that are not just necessarily comfortable on the ball, but are making quick decisions on the ball is a good thing. And I think that is clearly something that he has wanted, at least starting this summer. It seems like it's something he identified as an issue, is just our overall tempo. And even, like, that's something he mentioned with Fred too, is that he's a player that would increase our tempo. And he said the same thing about Pereira. So I think, I don't know if we're never going to be like, a Liverpool or City where it's just gung ho, like, attack nonstop. But I feel like when I'm watching us this year, there's more of a consistent effort to get forward, and to commit numbers forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, particularly in the young boys game, to me, I mean, I'm probably biased because I thought I saw exactly what I want to see from a United team, and that is players getting forwards, trying to run in behind, trying to go past their man at the very least. Not this sort of playing into feet in front of the two banks of four. Not that young boys were defending in two banks of four, but that's been my problem with the team for the last maybe season and a bit, and for me, I think it seems as though it's a different sort of approach, like you're saying, sort of a more progressive approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we will keep this up for the season and maybe use this style of play in some of the big games, or do you think Jose will revert to a bit more of a defensive style?
I think he used it against Tottenham, didn't he? And it just didn't really come off. And
Yeah.
he's been using it since, particularly with Fellaini sort of transitioning between midfield and defence. I mean, he didn't need to use it against young boys. Use Fellaini in that role against young boys because we sort of saw from young boys' finishing and sort of abilities in the final third that they weren't going to trouble us so much. So Fellaini wasn't deployed in that way. But I think perhaps in the league we will probably see that most of the season, if not for injuries.
Okay. What we'll do, we'll talk about Martial. And obviously, I've made my opinion of him known throughout the first half. And Ed, you said you thought he played quite well for the entire game.
Yeah.
But Ashwin, how do you rate Martial's performance in the first half versus the second half?
I thought in the first half he had some good moments. He didn't really connect with his passes. I do think he got unlucky a couple of times where even if he did play a good pass, Lukaku's touch was off, Rashford's touch was off, whatever. He didn't take his he when he was trying to take his man on, he didn't seem like he had any idea what he wanted to do in that first half, and he also there were a few times where he just didn't take his man on when he had the chance. In the second half, I thought he was I don't think his performance in and of itself was anything great, but what I thought was really good about his performance was you could see the actual desire to attack his man, and then he fought through challenges, he went into challenges, he moved off the ball, he his work rate was just there the entire time. And I've never really worried about I've never gotten into the debate of is he that talented, was the first year just a fluke, blah blah blah. I think it's obvious he is very talented, but it's that work rate in and out of possession. And I don't just mean tracking back, but when he's off the ball, is he making a run? Is he stretching defenders? He's not always activated like that. And yesterday I thought he was definitely, especially in the second half, he was hungry. He was trying to get on the score sheet, and he made a mark on the second half. I don't think he was if I had to rate the performance out of 10, I don't know, I'd say maybe a 6.5 or something. It wasn't anything great, but I can bet if he put in more performances like that, he will get his name in the squad. He will be starting more matches if he continues to play with that type of effort and energy every time.
Do you think he'll start over Sanchez, or do you think Jose will try and shoehorn both in at the same time?
I think he might try and shoehorn them in. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure with Sanchez. I thought against Watford he was a lot better than a lot of people thought. I don't know. I thought he was really close to having telling contributions in attack, which is that's fine. I don't think he was I don't think he was great either, and that's kind of where I'm at. If any of these guys just starts producing, I think they will start because he clearly wants more from these attacking positions. The reason I believe he just stuck with Sanchez this year and Lingard recently is just he needed players that basically he trusted to give maximum effort and just essentially quote unquote warriors. I think he needed those guys. We were in a bad situation. The squad was under a lot of pressure. Whatever it was, and I think he just needs guys that he trusts to put in the work.
I can appreciate what you're saying there, but I think with regards to Sanchez, perhaps I'm being overly critical, but just running around, it's not enough. And while he might be just running around at the behest of Mourinho, he's running around without much productivity, and that's sort of. I'd rather see Martial sulking for 20 minutes, but then making a run and scoring a goal.
See, that's where I disagree though, because I think Sanchez against Watford, all right, so he almost had an assist, right? In the first 2 minutes, he put in Lukaku in a cross, and Foster was quick off his line and gathered the ball. Then he passed to Pogba on a counter. Foster saved that, and that went out for a corner, which eventually, from that series of corners, we scored our first goal. He even almost scored a goal where he took his man on and beat him for pace, and then, Foster again actually made a really good save at a near post shot that went in the top corner. Like, I think he is... I thought he was looking... I thought he looked close to not maybe like the world-class player that we're paying in his wages, but a player that is making attacking contributions that are valuable. But I was also fine, like, I didn't feel the need... I didn't think his performance was so good that he had to start against Young Boys. Like, I was totally fine with Martial getting a chance. And, like I said, I was happy that he went the full 90 and got a goal because he deserved it.
I was sort of had more last season in mind for Sanchez there, but I did think he did well against Watford. I mean, he did score against Watford, but unfortunately he was offside. Yeah. So, I mean, he does make the runs, and he does put in some decent passes and assists, like we saw the other week. Who were we playing again? Burnley.
Yeah.
Yeah, Burnley. So it was a decent assist there. Like I say, I don't think he did much other than that.
Yeah, I thought he was way worse against Burnley than he was against Watford.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the problems is with Sanchez is he's so short, so he has to like run a lot more to get the same speed as everyone else.
Yeah.
So you see his little legs moving a lot faster.
Yeah.
So tiny.
Speaking of that, can I just touch on Pogba's height and somehow his amazing centre of gravity? I don't understand how such a gangly guy can have such impeccable balance. How does he manage it? What's going on there? Because I'm about 6'2" and when I'm playing football, I look like a drunk crane fly or something. Flapping my arms all over the place and tripping up over myself. Obviously, I'm not as good as Pogba, but how? Just how?
It's the haircuts.
It's the haircuts.
That's why he gets haircuts all the time.
It's the haircuts, yeah.
So he, because like each haircut grants him like a new power of gravity that he's able to use while he runs. What even is he in feet and inches? It says he's 191 centimeters.
That's
6 foot. Oh, he's 6'3". Yeah,
he's a big boy.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only 5'10", 5'11", so I've never had to worry about a low center of gravity. The only thing about my gravity is that my belly is going downwards. so the gravity I'm worrying about right now.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's probably practice though. I mean, he's not a Peter Crouch guy. Like Peter Crouch, obviously tall, super skinny. Whereas Pogba's a bit meatier, so he's probably a lot easier for him.
But if you watch it, he manages to keep his balance while also holding off one or two defenders at the same time, while flicking the ball around his feet. It's just, I just don't understand how he does it.
I mean, maybe it's an Olsen twin situation where we've got two of the Pogbas and they're both there at the same time, but they're moving so fast we can only see one.
Yeah, possibly. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, speaking of Pogba, actually, obviously yesterday he got 2 goals and an assist, and received a well-deserved Man of the Match award for his troubles. Although the unfortunate thing is one of them was a penalty.
God.
So I think everybody went and made about 10 cups of tea while he did his run-up.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the first goal?
Oh,
that was
brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was stunning.
Sublime. It's one of the best goals I've seen this season at the very least, and in a while. One of the best goals I've seen in a while.
Yeah, on his weak foot too.
Yeah, I think it was hit with... Yeah, it was hit with finesse. Mm. So, just curled a little bit right into the top corner. It was really, really good goal. And the kind of goal he should score.
He takes it in a tight spot as well. He's surrounded by defenders. He manages to work it onto his left foot, and which is his weaker foot, and to get that sort of power with the inside of his foot into the top corner, I just thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we need players to be able to do more of, is actually have end product with their weak foot.
Yeah.
Because, like you touched upon earlier with Young, where he always moves it to his right. It wastes time. There was a time in Euro 2016, which was a fantastic time for me, where Bale was he actually got into the box, and it was just him and the keeper, and he had a one-on-one, but he was in a really bad position. Like he was. If he was right-footed, he could have flicked it over a lot easier. But because he's a left-footer, he had to turn his body and try and flick it over with his left. And thankfully, he did score. But when I saw it, it made me think that these are top-level athletes, and I can shoot with both my left and my right, and I've never even practiced with my left, and I'm a right-footer, and I'm quite accurate. So why can't these top-level athletes actually have the ability to use both feet for these things? And a lot of the stuff is basic stuff, and they can't do the basics with them. And I think that Pogba being able to do that is absolutely fantastic, and we do need more players, because a lot of players they like to run in, or they do zigzags and whatever, and they get into positions where they can't actually hit it with their natural foot, so they have to shift their body, they have to shift their legs, and it does waste time.
And then
and I do wish we had more players. Yeah. Exactly. There were times where you have one chance to do it, and that's it. And the defenders are so fast these days. Like, there was a time, it was little while ago. I think it was where Sanchez was in the box, or someone was in the box, and they just took like 1 extra millisecond. Oh, it was Rashford actually. He took the extra millisecond to try and place the ball properly, and the defender just slid in and blocked it. And it's just, if you could just do it with your weak foot straight away without actually thinking about it, I think it'd be a lot better for everybody, especially us as fans, because it's frustrating to see players mess up just because they're trying to adjust themselves.
I don't think there's any excuse. Another person guilty of this is Antonio Valencia.
Yeah.
I should probably stop the bandwagon on him, shouldn't I? Really.
Although, he's left-footed, isn't he, Valencia, or is he right-footed?
No,
he's right-footed.
He's the most right-footed human being in the entire world.
He is.
Do you remember when he broke his left leg?
No, I do. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I just thought he'd carry on playing because he doesn't really use it. So.
Yeah.
Lukaku is he really doesn't like using his right foot very much.
No. And I can forgive that though.
That costs him sometimes on these one-on-ones. I mean, I thought that was that miss against Tottenham, I don't want to go back to it, but if that's on his left, there's no way he misses that.
No.
Was that the open goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't watch the Tottenham game because I was childless for the night. So my wife and I watched TV instead. But it makes me glad I didn't. But I did see that people were moaning about an open goal, which is pretty unforgivable, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does tie in obviously to the players not being able to use their weaker foot thing, which is like a huge debate in itself, and you could probably fill a 5-hour podcast with just weak foot debate. To be honest. But what we'll do is we'll move on from that and go to Fellaini, my favourite player. Now, with the Young Boys game, for the first 30 minutes, they seemed to be really up for the game. They put a lot of pressure on us. That Mbappe guy... Is it Mbappe or Mbabu?
Mbabu.
Mbabu. The one with blonde dreadlocks.
Yeah.
He was running down the wing a lot and outpacing us. And for me, one of the things during the game I was thinking is that maybe we need Fellaini right now, which is a horrifying thought for me. So At any point in the game, did either of you think the same, or was I alone in my horror thoughts?
I didn't think that. I was fairly confident that they weren't going to score.
I didn't think they were going to score, but I did think that we looked a little. They were, very early on, I thought we looked really. I don't want to say I don't want to say open, but they had that one header where Lindelof got, the man made a near post run and he got on the end of it before him, and I was just thinking, that probably doesn't happen if Fellaini's in there, but they didn't really create a whole lot from crosses before that point or after that point, and so I don't know. I guess there were some parts where I thought we were a bit more open without him, but I wasn't that nervous about it, to be honest.
No, I think we wanted them to be open in a sense, so that we could play our game as well. And I think part of it was probably because I don't think Fred had a particularly good game compared to his other games previously. I thought he just looked a bit out of sorts, and his crossing, not crossing, his set pieces, corners were absolutely dire.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Yeah, they didn't beat their first man, or they were lofted way over the box to the last man in the box, and then not much came from it, or just over the box entirely. So yeah, I wasn't too pleased with his corners, but I don't think it was because he's the worst player ever. Sell him. I just think it was a poor game for him, unfortunately.
I thought all of our midfield actually started off. I thought they all looked really poor in possession to start the match, because I just thought it was the pitch, to be honest. I think they were not used to the bounce, because Fred was the worst of the three, but even him, I thought as the match went on, he got better, which isn't to say not to say he was good, but he was just better as the match went on. And I thought especially Matic and Pogba looked a lot better after the first 15-20 minutes. I thought that they kind of, the entire team had a little bit of an adjustment, but I thought those three in particular had the biggest one, because your midfielders are just going to be on the ball in tight areas more often than anybody else. So I thought after the first 15-20 minutes, they all kind of came to grips with everything, with the conditions of the pitch, and after that, I thought more or less we were in control.
Don't they play on artificial pitches in Ukraine, though? I'm not too sure.
I have no idea.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue either. But with the artificial pitch, the commentators kept referring to it as a plastic pitch. But how plastic is it? Because I've only ever played on actual grass pitches, so when they kept saying it was plastic.
Oh, it's very.
It's so much faster. The ball just it does not stop. If you kick it, it'll just keep rolling. It'll keep rolling. It'll keep rolling. It doesn't, and that's there was one early in the match where they kicked it out, and then Lindelof, instead of heading it in the air, waited for it to bounce, and it bounced a lot higher than I think they expected, and it's because it's that's just how those turf pitches are. The bounce and the speed is just so much more than it is on grass.
I think I don't know if that one is a 3GS pitch, but they have these little black pellets which help add to the bounce.
It's the worst, and they get in your boots and everything. It's the worst.
Yeah, and the actual grass just cuts your legs up. You can't slide on it at all.
If you slide on it, your knees will get cut up.
Yeah.
I have a lot of knee bruises.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I was thinking of when they kept calling it plastic, is that when they slide, surely it is going to mess their legs up at all. But when you say it's 3GS, it makes it sound like it's got Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's just what it's called. That's all I know.
That'd be funny though, a pitch with Wi-Fi, and all the players are just walking around on their mobile phones instead, updating on Twitter. Okay. One of the controversial things about the match was the penalty decision, and not only for Pogba's insanely terrible run-up, but the actual decision made for it itself, where we hit it and it hit the player's arm. Now, the rules state that if it's ball to hand, and it's because the hand is in an unnatural position, so if you've got your arms flailing in the air, like trying to be a zombie or something, then it would be a penalty or a free kick because why are your hands there? But in this case, the defender's arms were actually by his side when it hit his hand. So do you think that the penalty decision was harsh, or do you think it was quite fair?
Um, I don't know. What do you reckon?
I honestly, I didn't think the replay of it was very good.
No.
They kept showing it from the opposite side of where the ball struck the hand, so you couldn't. I mean, they kept saying his arm was next to his body, but I couldn't actually see it. So if it was next to his body, yeah, it would be harsh. But I don't know if that was exactly the case.
The way I saw it was his arm was sort of his hand was like horizontal to the side of his body originally, but that's only because he was turning into it, and so I'd complain if we were given a penalty against us like that. But obviously, I'm quite happy to take a penalty awarded to us like that. So it's one of those where it's 50-50. It depends how you're reading the game. It's probably, on balance, it probably was a bit harsh.
And that's even Shaw said it could have gone either way. So I think if it, I don't know. I personally, when it happened, I didn't think it was a penalty. But again, like I just thought the replay angles they had on it sucked, and I couldn't really get a view on what happened. And the one for them was not like it was just not a penalty. So I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean the ones for them, every time they called for it, it was where they had actually hit it up, and so it was like hitting more of the shoulder area, and like the shoulder area is harder to move than the forearms.
Well, the top and the one hit the top of Smalling's shoulder, and that's just that's not a handball in any definition of it.
It's not a penalty. Not handball at all.
I was actually worried though because I think that upon reflection, maybe the referee would have thought it was harsh, and that maybe he would have eventually given them something. So every time they called for a penalty, I did panic a little bit because I was thinking, oh shit, they're going to get a penalty now because he gave us one, so he's going to make it a bit even, and then they're going to come back into the game and we're going to be a laughing stock for losing to young boys. But thankfully, the referee actually stuck to his guns and didn't award them any penalties, which was very, very good, and left me feeling a lot happier.
Yeah.
Last thing about the young boys game now. Afterwards, Jose did praise both Shaw and Dalot, and one of the comments he actually made about Dalot was that he thinks he'll be a Manchester United player for the next 10 years. Do you agree with him, or do you think it might be a bit early to judge?
Depends how soon Real Madrid come knocking in there.
I mean, it's definitely too early to judge, but I mean, I think he was saying it more like,
yeah,
not that he will, but that's the talent he has, that's the potential he has. I actually have zero problem with him saying that, and I get what he was trying to say.
Oh God, I probably sound like a moaning Myrtle, but on the other side of the coin, how long was Anderson at the club for? So it could well be at the club for 10 years. You never know.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I was thinking of is that, what if he turns to shit in his year for 10 years still?
Yeah.
Because we have been known to hang on for players a little bit too long.
Yeah, no.
And last season I would have said we hung on to Fellaini too long. But now, maybe it's a good job we were pursuing him like a dumped girlfriend.
No, but positively,
I've always quite liked Fellaini.
I like him as a person. I think he's commendable. He's received so much stick from the fans and the press. He couldn't help being signed by Moyes.
And he's to me he's the furthest. He's not even close to why we're not challenging for the top.
No,
title. It's not even. It's so stupid. I just don't care about it.
Yeah, I mean, he has the right attitude and he puts the shift in when he's asked to. Whether he's a United, good enough to be a United player or not,
Well, if you sit him for 10 matches in a row, he'll never complain. He was not gonna, he's never he didn't play for a long time under Van Gaal. People feel like he didn't play for a while, and he never whined, he never complained. Even Ferdinand has mentioned this. Like he said the other week that he only played with him for a year, but when he was there for that year, he said Fellaini's a model professional, and it's when you hear stuff like that, it makes complete sense why every manager United, like when LVG came in, everyone, oh, that's it, he's done. And then it was a matter of time, and then he became, when he was healthy, he was basically always featured for Van Gaal. And then he had to go back to him the second year because Schweinsteiger and what's the other guy? Who's the one?
Schneiderlin.
Schneiderlin, yeah, they were both so awful that he had to go back to Fellaini. And then when Mourinho got here, everyone was like, oh, well, that's his time is up. And then one of the first things he said was, that he had called Fellaini and told him he was an important player for him. And, when you hear, like, it's not a coincidence that these detail-oriented managers love Fellaini because he executes his role, he plays to the tactics, and there's always going to be a role for a player like that at a club.
Yeah. And, I think the problem for Fellaini is whether those tactics are what United fans want to see.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, I like the role he's in right now, and he's playing that role really well. I don't like the role where we start him, and then we play him further forward, and therefore we just have to kind of, like, play extremely direct. And, like, I get that, but I never understand why people hate when he comes off the bench and plays that role, because I've seen matches where he clearly makes our trend, like, we struggle to even get into forward areas, and then he comes on, and, it's not aesthetically beautiful, but if it's effective and we're struggling to do it in an aesthetically beautiful way, I have no problem with, like, it's not Fellaini's problem that we suck in possession and playing through the lines and moving the ball forward. So at that point, if we can't do it in that manner, then you have to find a way to do it. And if the best way to do it is to bring in, like, this battering ram support striker, and so be it.
Yep.
So what you're saying is you'll be getting a Marouane Fellaini back tattoo tomorrow?
Yes. Lower back tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Trump stamp.
But yeah, I think Delo should be at the club for a while. He's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One last quick question about the Young Boys game. How do you both think that Graham Souness is feeling right now?
Super angry, furious.
I missed this. What's wrong with Graham Souness? What's he said now?
Oh no, he hates Pogba.
Oh, does he?
And
he said something though after the match, right?
He wasn't positive at all about anything. Him and Mick McCarthy, they were both very negative, and they were only picking up on the negative things about the match. I don't think he said anything about Pogba, but he did say stuff about Fred, which kind of goes with the theme that he's going for in picking who he chooses to criticise. But I don't think he could say anything about Pogba this time because of the fact that Pogba did actually play quite well.
Yeah, I mean, it's par for the course for...
Fred looked better than Fabinho sitting on the bench, so that's all I can really say.
Yeah, I honestly can't stand Graham Souness, I'm not going to lie.
See, I've always found he has great respect for United, Whenever I've seen him speak about it, he's always... It's as though he's wanted Liverpool to be the club that United are, but I don't know. Maybe that's just I don't know.
I think when Ferguson was there, it was a little bit different, and now I think now. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. Like back, a few years ago, I always thought he was more. I mean, not like a genius or saying anything crazy, amazing. But I thought generally speaking, he was okay. But I don't know. Like last year or so, he's just been so crazy. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, it's just classic Liverpool pundits, really. Just not worth listening to.
Yeah, I think they make the worst pundits, to be honest, because they find it very, very difficult to hide their bias.
Yeah.
Whereas with the United ones, they try and hide it somehow, even though they fail sometimes. And some of them, obviously, they go to the point of being anti-United to try and prove they're not biased against us.
Yeah.
But Liverpool ones, they just have hatred for us all the time. Okay, so obviously we would be remiss if we didn't mention the Watford game. We beat them 2-1 thanks to a Lukaku goal with his 5-meter long penis and Chris Smalling masterclass. If you haven't watched the game, why are you listening to the podcast? You should
Because they
watch
love
it,
us.
or at least watch the highlights.
Because they love us.
Yeah, true. But if you didn't watch the game somehow, Lukaku did score with his lower region. Although Watford did call for a handball, although there were no hands involved. And the second goal was scored by Chris Smalling after a Fellaini header from a young corner where Smalling chested it and then smacked it into the net,
Great
which was
technique.
a goal. Yes, it was a goal worthy of any top striker, I think.
Yeah.
And Watford did score a goal back, unfortunately, where about 3 of their players were left unmarked on the edge of the box. And I think it was Gray who smashed it in.
Yeah, it was great.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, how did both of you find that match, and what did you think of Fellaini and Smalling in particular?
I thought we deserved it. I thought we deserved. I mean, it wasn't like we totally outplayed them, but I thought we deserved the full value there. And yeah, I was very happy De Gea made the save at the end because that would have been, I think that would have been pretty bad for the whole morale. Just kind of, Watford. To be fair, they're in really good form, right? They undefeated, and then they came back against Tottenham, which I guess isn't that hard to do anymore, except for us. But yeah, it was a good win. I don't know. There's so many opportunities. We're so close on some of these counter-attacking chances, and I feel like we always just screw it up right at the end. Like there was the one in the second half where Valencia took an extra touch before he played in Lukaku, and then when Lukaku played it for Sanchez, the defender had a chance to get back and block it, and it's just those small details. They seem to always crop up when we're up. Like, we just can't seem to get that final goal to just end it, like end the match, and that's very frustrating. But yeah, we got the 3 points, and I was very happy with that. And I thought we deserved it.
Yeah, I agree. And I also thought both, and I'm not a fan of Smalling in any way, shape or form, if I'm honest, but I thought both Smalling and Fellaini played really well.
Yeah.
Fellaini especially.
Yeah, he was magnificent.
Yeah, I actually put Fellaini down as my man of the match, which made me physically sick.
He's been flawless since he's moved into that sort of between midfield and defence role, I'd say.
I thought I put Smalling, but yeah, I mean Fellaini was great too. It's not like I had a big. That's fine.
Yeah, I think Fellaini's been fantastic since he was moved into that position, and it's one of those things that I never thought I would say, and that I do hope he stays in the team as long as he's playing like that, because if he's able to be that important pivot that we need between defence and midfield, that we will do a lot better. Without going too technical, because I'm rubbish with the technical stuff. Yeah, I genuinely can't believe I actually had him down as my man of the match, because I never thought in a million years I would. So I was quite surprised at how well he did. And Smalling especially, because Smalling's another one I have criticised in the past. And for him to score like that, and he does score goals. He is one of those defenders who does crop up every now and then. It's usually like a cheeky kick or a quick header. But this one, like I said, was fantastic and something completely unexpected. But when it comes to Smalling, the most important issue is what is up with his hair.
Well,
I'm going to get all Graham Souness on you. What's up with the hair?
I don't care as long as he keeps playing like this.
Do you think the hair is helping his rejuvenation?
I think we're on treacherous grounds here, isn't it? Like a cultural thing.
He said before the season I think he's on a vegan diet now. And
Is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think so. And I think so he has dropped some weight. And I remember reading about this, so I think that maybe that's, I don't know, maybe, I'm not saying, I don't think I can't visibly tell if he looks quicker or whatever, but, I think he's been one of our better players throughout the season. As soon as he came back into the team, I thought he looked much better than anybody we had in central defense, and I think our defense has generally looked better.
Yeah, I think that's fair, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought a vegan diet would be good for something?
Well, you see, I've read reports saying that actually vegan diet's bad for you generally, health-wise, in the long term. So, I don't know. Don't be vegan.
Yeah. I couldn't be. I love meat way too much,
Yeah.
even though my stomach says I shouldn't. Yeah, so I think that's about it for Watford. It was just a quick bit on Watford because it's a standard game, and obviously Young Boys was fresher on the mind.
Mm.
Now we'll move on quickly to the ladies in our life, the Manchester United women. Do have either of you watched any of their games so far?
I have not.
I haven't yet. No. Sorry.
No, it's just is it just me then?
Just you.
Just you.
This is your time to shine.
Okay, I'll quickly run through the previous two games because they have played two games since we last recorded. Both games were league games. The first one was against Aston Villa away, and we did beat them 12-0, with Jess Sigsworth scoring 5 goals. Lauren James got 2 as well. Lauren James is what we want Pogba to be, essentially. Not a woman, obviously, because then he'd be in the women's squad, but like she's got the skill and the ability that we want to see from Pogba all the time. Considering she's only 16, she's absolutely fantastic.
16.
Yeah, it surprised me when I found out how young she was because she seems the most composed on the pitch at all times, which is crazy for someone so young. I mean, she was sitting at GCSEs a few months ago,
Wow.
and now she's in the first team for the Man U women. It's absolutely ridiculous, but she's absolutely fantastic. She's actually seen as one of the best women's players for the future, especially in the game right now because of how good she is. And we actually nicked her from Arsenal.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's another signing Wenger missed out on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he could have signed her up to play with Bellerin. They could have shown off their hair together. But yeah, I mean, against Aston Villa, we could have easily scored quite a few more. I think the last goal we scored was about 65 minutes, and after that we just slowed down a lot, and we kind of gave them a bit of a chance to do something in the game. But if we had actually carried on, we could have easily made it to 15, 16 goals. But I think we embarrassed them enough, to be honest. And then we actually played today as well earlier on. Although today, for everyone listening, will be Thursday because this will not be out on Thursday. We actually beat Sheffield United 3-0. Lauren James once again did fantastic. She won a penalty after about 20 minutes when one of the Sheffield United defenders decided to slide tackle her from behind in the box.
Oh, good.
Which is a Phil Jones thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although in this case there was no attempt to get the ball at all.
Right.
And then Katie Zalem scored the penalty. She actually scored a penalty against Aston Villa as well. The other scorers were Hansen, who scored an absolutely fantastic left-footed shot from outside the box. It seemed to float over the keeper and just go under the bar. And then Arnott scored later on from. Do you remember a couple of years ago when I think we were playing Hull, and it was like the last minute of extra time. The ball came across the goal. Rashford tapped it in, and we managed to win 1-0. It was like that goal. Where it came across, and it went past the keeper, and she tapped it in easily enough. Unfortunately, Hansen. I think it was Hansen. She actually went off injured with about 5 minutes to go, so we ended up playing with 10 women for the rest of the game. But we still held on to win 3-0. It was a tougher game than Aston Villa because Sheffield United had set up more to defend a lot. They packed the midfield quite a bit to stop us getting through. I think one of the reasons might have been to negate the threat of Lauren James. But we did get the victory. So we're currently top of the league of the championship. which is absolutely fantastic. Hopefully, we will win the league and get promoted next season.
How many games are there total?
20, I think.
20, right.
Because there are only 11 teams in the league, so I think we play each other twice.
Right.
Makes sense.
But, it's hopefully we'll win it at a canter. Hopefully we'll have it wrapped up very early, and then we can not worry. But yeah, if you get a chance, you should definitely watch the Manchester United women play. They are very attacking. They're a very good team, and it's always an entertaining game.
Yeah.
Okay, now we'll go back to the men. We obviously have 2 matches coming up. One on Saturday against Wolverhampton Wanderers in the league, and then on Tuesday we play in the Carabao Cup against Derby. I think we're at home for both of the games.
We're certainly at home.
We're definitely at home. We definitely are for Wolves.
Yeah, we are for Wolves. I don't know about Derby.
I'll bring it up quickly. Yeah, we're at home for Derby as well.
I've done a bit of research for this, if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
So Wolves have had 1 loss so far this season to Leicester, and they've drawn against Everton and City. So, it's always good to see City dropping points, and then they've beaten West Ham. I haven't seen Wolves play myself this season so far, but I think when I was watching the coverage of the Champions League game, both Scholes and Rio said they've been playing quite well. They're in quite good form. So it could be a tough fixture for us. But to be quite honest, the way we're playing at the moment as well, I'm inclined to back us at Old Trafford to win.
Yeah, I think we'll do. I think we'll take them. I think they like to play. Like they're not gonna come to the ground and sit in 2 banks of 4 and try and nick a point or just nick a goal on the counter. Like they'll open up and play, and I think that will suit us because, that's Mourinho's problems with teams is usually not the teams that open up and play. It's usually opening up teams that sit back. That's generally been his issue as a manager for years. So, I think that they're flying high right now too. They had they only won 1-0 against Burnley, but they could have scored easily 3, 4, 5 in that match. So they were dominant, and I thought they looked really good, but Burnley like playing at home against Burnley is very different than playing at Old Trafford against Manchester United. So not that they almost, to be fair to them, they took City to penalties last year in the League Cup, right, at the Etihad. So maybe they're not necessarily pushovers. I just kind of I like how we're playing right now. I like the confidence in our squad, and I think that deploying Fellaini in the way we have has kind of opened up a lot of our attacking play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking at the league table now, and they're actually right behind us in 9th.
Yeah.
So if they do manage to beat us, they will go ahead of us.
So just play for the draw?
I'm hope.
Shut up.
They'd be happy with a draw, I imagine.
Oh yeah, I think most teams are happy with a draw at Old Trafford.
Oh yeah, it's definitely something that I think a lot of teams, if they were offered the chance, they would take it straight away.
Respect the point.
Yeah. As with all games, though, we do need to win because we are falling quite far behind. We're only on 9 points in the league, and Liverpool and Chelsea are both on 15. So we're falling adrift already, and if Liverpool keep up their form, they will get even further ahead, unfortunately.
If you win your double pointers there, though, we're back right in it, though.
Yeah, we need to, and we need Liverpool to actually drop points as well. I know it's a bit early in the season to say teams need to drop points because we've only played 5 games so far, but you just gotta hope that they do, because if they, I would be horrified if Liverpool somehow managed to win the league. I probably wouldn't stop crying for about 3 years.
Yeah.
Horrible. It's a terrifying thought.
We'd all be there with you.
So, but then on Tuesday, like I said, we play Derby in the Carabao Cup, which will be the third round, I believe, and it will be our first match in it.
Yep.
What did you learn about Derby, who are now managed by Chelsea legend Frank Lampard?
City legend Frank Lampard, I think you mean.
I didn't want to give them the low blow.
Well, they've been in decent form as well so far this season, I think. Apart from the other day when they lost to Rotherham United and Frank Lampard lost his shit and got sent away. When he sent to the stands or something. He lost his mind and after a player was sent off, and that's about all I know about Derby's season so far, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
You'd expect us to win though, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm actually excited to see who plays. I think Pereira will definitely get a chance in that match. I don't know. I'm just kind of interested to see which young players or younger players in the squad kind of get the. I would imagine McTominay will start too.
McTominay, Dalot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine Dalot will definitely get in the team for this game. Even hopefully Shaw as well, so we can keep playing with both fullbacks, so we can actually get used to it and become an attacking force to be reckoned with.
I'd almost prefer a young start, just so that we know for sure at this point that Shaw is our starting left back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a good point actually. Obviously, this is an early round game and it is against lower league opposition, so it's definitely one way we can play the players who won't be first teamers right now.
We might see a big league rant.
Yeah, true. I didn't know. I actually forgot who you were. I didn't realize who you were talking about then for a second. I was like, what league rant?
that young 31-year-old, is he 31? Whippersnapper.
32, I think.
Signed as the backup goalkeeper. I think because is he still injured?
I think he's back now, right? You think he was in the squad?
Oh, is he?
I think he was on the bench yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, was he? Oh, see, did he have a knee injury, which kept him out of the World Cup?
It was weird though, because didn't they say that he could have played in the World Cup if they needed him to, but they held him out because
his wife did.
Oh, is that what happened?
Or his girlfriend. I'm not sure whether it was his wife, whether she was his wife or girlfriend, but she actually came out and said he wasn't actually injured and he could play, but they didn't want him to.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, right. Oh.
Which was quite a crazy turn of events, to be honest.
But I think they just brought in, who was it, the guy from Stoke, what's his name? Mason? Grant Mason? Is that it?
I thought it was Lee Grant.
Lee Grant, that's what it is. I don't know why I said it.
Yeah, Lee Grant, yeah.
I think they just brought him in because they wanted to send Pereira on loan.
Yeah, because we definitely needed someone there in case Romero was injured again.
Oh, I see, yeah. I was confused. I was like, Pereira, but he's in this... But then you mean the goalkeeper.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's confusing having two Pereiras.
Yeah.
Two Pereiras and a Herrera. So, it's a name of a sitcom, I think.
Yeah.
Or a podcast.
Yeah. Or a podcast.
Yeah, maybe they'll start one and Mata will run it for them.
Yeah, Matt will do the editing.
Yeah, he'll put it up on his blog every Monday.
Hugs.
Especially after we lose. He's got the sorry face.
Must try harder.
Yeah. What was it from South Park where there was a CEO of a company apologizing for some really horrible stuff they did, and
that was the BP Gulf thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was going sorry. That's matter every Monday when we lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's that for this week's podcast. As I said at the beginning of the show, don't forget to send us money on Patreon.
Yeah.
www.patreon.com/UnitedHour. We need beer and server costs as well. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Let us know in the thread and on Twitter what you think. Don't forget to follow us on everything as well. This good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good evening for me.